Hey, Dr. Kelly Starrett, Mobility Wall, the Ready State. I want to talk a second about the new Kabuki Cadillac Bar. We've had it long enough now that I think I understand what's going on underneath it. And let me tell you what I think I like about it, particularly as opposed to some of the other traditional football bars. Now, speaking as an athlete, I have a really bad wrist. I have zero wrist extension, so 100% of my pressing is with a dumbbell. I can't even handle a heavy kettlebell anymore. I can handle a fat bell. And so I'm either pressing a log or I'm pressing a Cadillac bar or a football bar all the time. So I'm particularly sensitive to this. Now, there's a couple things that are of note. One is, obviously, you're seeing that the handles are slightly turned in a little bit. And what this does is, what's nice about a neutral grip is we can unload the wrist. So if you're having wrist problems, a neutral grip is really nice. But adding a little bit of rotation in gives me the option of creating still a active rotation force. So, for example, when beginners are doing chin-ups and they're weak, they can lock them into a mechanical position where they don't have to create any active stability, and then they can tend to be able to do pulls in this position. But if you give an athlete, a choice, they'll always create an option that allows them to create more rotation and have more movement. So one of the nice things about having the handles slightly canted in is that it still allows me enough of an option to still create a little bit more passive torsion. So what you'll see is that when people are typically pressing straight football bars, even though they're blocked, like having a straight foot, when the knee comes in, it's very safe. You're still very safe in this position, but it's difficult and more difficult to create active rotation and active torsion resistance, which creates the stability through the shoulder, right? Bend the bar, break the bar. So having a slight handle in gives me an opportunity to still create that bending option. When I'm straight up and down, it is certainly harder to create a more active shoulder. In this position, I have a little bit more choice, okay? Secondarily, and I think this is worth noting, you can see the bar in this position wants to settle out. And so when I actually put the bar into its working position, the bar is always hanging below its center of mass. And so what ends up happening is I'm pressing here, but the center of mass is low. So the bar is always looking for stability and centering. Same thing if you're flying an airplane, having a wing over makes the airplane very stable. Wing under, and the airplane's always trying to tip over, right? So what I'm looking for here for this particular bar and my wrist is that this gives me the option of being able to have the bar settle out into a position where I don't have to constantly manage the load in a really strict isometric so I don't break my wrist. So when it's really heavy and I'm on a traditional bar where the grip is in the center of axis, because I can't correct this direction, I have to be really co-contraction stiff in order to maintain my wrist position that doesn't hurt when I press. What this does is allows us to really adopt a strong position and settle into a shape where I can put myself into a good pressing position but don't have to worry about the weight slipping over or falling over that rotation axis. So it gives me a big advantage. The other thing that they've done I think is gorgeous. Obviously, it's nice to have a little bit more working room so I don't brain myself, tooth myself, so I can have the access to the range of motion that sometimes I don't get with a straight platform. But the thing that I love the most is actually the powder-coated gription on the bar, which means that I have a higher degree of certainty and can create a little bit more torsion force instead of just sort of traditional powder coating. So a little bit of grip. Obviously, the big, strong men and women in the world can talk about why they like this bar, but this bar has become my favorite pressing bar because I can press without my wrist aching, and it gives me options to get under heavy load again without feeling like I'm always flirting with wrist disaster. The Cadillac Bar.